The following program is a production of Naleo TV.
Kona moon, shining so bright, smiling at you, right out of the sky.
Under the Kona Moon is brought to you in part by Napo'opo'o 2020 and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
Storytelling is a Hawaiian tradition that spans the centuries. Kawai'ola News is dedicated to sharing the stories of the Hawaiian community. Go to kawai'ola.news to hear oiwi from across the Pai'aina share their challenges and victories as they move the lahui forward. View bonus video stories and expanded photo coverage online. Explore Kawai'ola's story archive sharing important moments in Hawaiian history. Visit and subscribe to kawai'ola.news. News for the lahui.
Ke maua I ka wehi o hualalai. Kua iwi ku kila kila I ke ao o nohi Wahine ili ke a o Kona. O ke ala ke Hele papahi no ko maua mau kino. E komo maua iho o kena e ike I ka pua nau paka. Alaila Kalave mali e Ualohe mai kahimele Aloha kahale o ke kai Iwa ikini Iha me ke aloha Haina kai Noa o hualalai Hua hiwi ku kila kila Haina ka inoa o hualalai Hua hiwi ku kila kila Wahine ili ke a o Kona Iha me ke aloha. Aloha nui kako. Welcome to Under the Kona Moon. Today we are here at Kahauloa, Kona Hema. My name is Holeka Goro Inaba and I'll be your host for this program. I'm here with Uncle Chucky Leslie, a kama'aina, lawai'a, and kupuna here of Kona Hema, and we're here to just talk story, learn a little bit about life growing up here down at Napo'opo'o, and the tradition of lawai'a from Opelu to everything else Uncle Chucky has seen throughout his 8 decades as a lawai'a here in Kona. So Uncle Chucky, mahalo nui for having us down here at your hale, and we're grateful to be at a hale lawai'a in a place that you grew up. So if you could share a little bit about who you are, your name, your ohana.
Okay, mahalo for having me. My name is Chucky Leslie, and I'm from Napo'opo'o. I was born in the bay there, right next to the ocean in 1941, May 7, 1941, and I live here 80 years now down in this bay. So it's a good place to be growing up down here for the family, everybody who live here.
can you share a little bit about who your ohana is and your makua, your parents?
Yeah, my dad was he's a Leslie side, and he was from Napo'opo'o. And my mom's ohana was from Ka'awaloa, Lanui. So they was from Ka'awaloa, they came from Ka'awaloa here. Oh, down here, living in Napo'opo'o is so good because we live right on the ocean. We do everything in the ocean. All the kids, like we had probably about 15 families down here, and everybody was in the ocean time. And it was, for me, it never will come back for the next generations when we grew up. It's gone with us. And even like going to Ka'awaloa was such a blessing there, because you go there, when we grew up, there's nobody down there. You might see one or two Filipinos fishing on the shoreline, and not like now, you go there, there's plenty of people, a lot of tourists go there, but those days were so nice and calm, the water's malia, nobody. And like from Napo'opo'o, we always been here, and we do all the fishing. When we was kids, we just hang out when my parents then do the Akule surrounding and all that, and when they come in from doing the ahi fishing, we can be there, but we cannot get in the way, because the old people, they talk once and they whack twice, So when they tell you, you go over there and you stay there, you got to do them, because they're not going to speak too many times, So we learned our lessons, and by then, and so that was the life that we live down here.
During those times, 80 years ago, 70 years ago, I know in Kona we had small schools, yeah, so can you share a little bit about what it was like going to school here?
Yeah, we had Napo'opo'o school just 2 miles up the road, and either we walk up to school in the morning, or they had on bus come, but coming home you have to walk home, because they never had bus running through there, but it was a lot of fun, and was mixed, get all kind of Japanese, Hawaiians, Portuguese, everybody was there. It was a lot of fun.
And in those days, similar to the small communities, schools, each community kind of had their store. So how would you get goods and food down, besides fishing your own food?
Yeah. Well, we had one small store down here, but then we had this guy. He had a big store up Mauka and a vegetable market, and he had a big, I don't know if you've seen this old school, big school bus, like on a 2.5-ton truck, and he built his wagon on there, and then he bring vegetables, and when he come down, my mom then usually give him order for groceries and stuff, and his next trip down, he'll bring that down, and vegetables, and he just go right through the village, toot the horn, and everybody come out and get what they order and buy what vegetables they need too. And then we do a lot of exchange with the farmers and with the ranchers and stuff. We give fish, they give us, meat and stuff like that. We used to pick coffee when we was growing up, and if fishing get real bad, as when I was about 17, we go up at 18, we go pick coffee, and we go work at a coffee mill, Captain Cook's coffee mill. And you know how much we was getting paid that time, 1 hour? $1.15 an hour. But we work, 16 to 18 hours a day. You work as long as you want, and then you can, go home. I think the longest day we had was one Thanksgiving. We worked 23 hours because we had so much coffee that we had to ship out and break in. But it was a lot of fun working in a coffee, in a coffee. And then when we grew up our house, we grew pigs. We raised pigs, but we couldn't eat our pigs because it was like pets to us, And we just sold them, and even if when we sell them to this guy and he bring us one piece, we have to give them to our neighbor because we couldn't eat them as was our pig, So, and chicken was the same thing. We couldn't eat them. We just use them for eggs. But we get chickens from our friends that give us, that we can eat, But that was the style we grew up,
Yeah. Okay, so in talking story about, why we've come to really hear your mo'olelo is your expertise and your experience in La Vaia. So taking us back again on how that journey started for you. I'll leave it there.
So where I start from ahi fishing?
I think from when you first learned, who first taught you how and where?
Okay, we do the net. That's when I first learned how to make net, was helping my dad making net. That's how he started me. I was 5 years old. And it was same like we had a table set up like this. There was a railing, there was on a porch, and he sit here with the net going across the table, tied to the post. And he had one chair there, and he sits here, and he was making. And he tell me, you hold this rope. So I hold the rope, and after a while, I say, what wrong with this picture, The thing's tied to the post, and I holding the rope. So I asked him, why I have to hold this rope, You get them tied to the post. He said, well, if you're not holding the rope, you're going to be running all over the place and not sitting here. And then this is going to help you stay focused and keep yourself calm. When you make net, he said, you're going to sit here for hours and hours at a time. And I learned that because when I make net now, I sit down for 10 hours just to make net. At 6 years old, they were doing long line fishing. So 6 years old, we were on a deck already working, just helping around. Kids, carrying floater, doing odd stuff. And then as I grew up, and then at 17 years old, he made me as a captain of the boat. There was 3 of us brothers working with him, and I was a captain. I captained 3 boats of our family, and my older brother, he was the deck boss. And my other brother was Alfred, he was the salesperson. So we all had our job, and my dad just stayed home, and when we need equipment for fishing, I just called him home, and then that days was all CB radio that we had. So then he'll get everything ready for us to come in, pick up when we come home. But then in 1979, then we built the 3rd boat, was from Washington. We built it in Westport, Washington. It was a 56-foot boat, and then we started to fish like 300 miles out of sea. We go into the Cross Sea Mountain is 140 miles southwest of here. And it's a sea mountain that's underwater. It's 182 fathoms. It's like 1,092 feet from the surface. And it's the size of Molokai. You look at that Cross Sea Mountain, it shapes almost like the island of Molokai. So we go there fishing. There was so much fish over there. We fished 5 hours. We catch 18,000 pounds in 5 hours. Then we go straight to Honolulu, and we unload our fish in Honolulu, load up ice, go back out there, load up again, go back to Honolulu. And the 3rd trip we go there, then we bring them back to Hawaii, and then we sell them over here. And you like me keep going?
Keep going.
Yeah, and then we go to the weather buoy. Buoy 3 was 300 miles from here. And they have weather buoys out there anchored that when you get a big surf coming in, those buoys show the weather people in Honolulu when the swell's hitting the buoy and giving them the time when the swell gonna be hitting the island. So, and give them different winds and weather and all that. And we fished 3 buoys. Buoy 2 was 182 miles southwest, and then buoy 4 we go down 250 miles southeast of here. It's down outside of Hilo. We fished that, but rough. 35 hours running down when we meet the buoy, because it's all downhill on a surf, the weather. But coming home 73 hours, because you're just pounding, 18, 20-foot seas coming home, So that's a part is not enjoyable because it's so rough,
And in those days, well, there wasn't GPS, so how you?
Oh no, there was GPS.
GPS already?
GPS already, yeah.
Okay, on the big boat.
In 1980, we brought the boat back. So it was 82, we went, yeah.
And
Yeah, we had GPS, we had Loran, and we had sat-nav too, sat-nav.
Okay.
So we don't get lost. You just punch it in and it takes you right there. Like the Sea Mountain, you punch in the Sea Mountain coordinates, it tells you the time you're gonna be there. As soon as you reach that time, you put the depth sounder, you right on them, It's so accurate, yeah. Everything's accurate.
And in going back to how you first learned, who was your kumu to teach you besides Net? Was your dad?
My dad, yeah, because he was the one running the boat before me, so I learned from him everything on the boat, yeah.
Okay, so I think that's kind of a interesting part of your life too, because now everyone knows you for your Opelu fishing, but
Yeah.
knowing, even having the chance to read through some of your ike on the
All
paper
the
about the different styles of fishing. So once you learned how to, or at what age did you know how to sew net
Well,
on your own?
I was about maybe 8 years old when they gave me the practice net when I was like 6 years old, and I made the shittiest job. But one thing with my dad, never tell me that. He says it's a good job, looking real good, and for me, I look at his job and I look at mine. There's no comparison. So, but he never did tell me that I was making the net bad. But he always gave me good confidence and stuff like that. And then from there we started fishing on a boat, and that's when we started to learn all the different types of fishing, because fishing all comes into different seasons, yeah. So when this season dies off, you just jump into the next season, and every fishing have different type of equipment you have to make. So you got all this equipment all stacked up that when I gotta go catch paka. So you grab your market dog or your kakaset, you go do that. But today I noticed what the young fishermen, if they only do ahi fishing, that's all they're gonna do. They don't know any kind of other fishing. And I think right here in our village and Kona now, the only 3 fishermen I see down here fishes, like knowing all these different types of fishing. I see only 3 of us now that doing that. The rest of them, mostly they're particular with different 1 type or 2 types of fishing.
Yeah.
But that's why we learn everything. So when we don't have to go look for land now when once fishing stops.
You mentioned market dog. I knew a little bit about fishing from growing up, but I think it's kind of valuable to explain some of those terms, because it gives you a little bit of insight into the practice. Yeah, so if you could share a little bit about that.
Well, market dog, like before, market dog was paka. The Hawaiian name was paka. And then after the Japanese came into fishing, then it went to market dog. And now the howlers come in here, they call them the bag. So it's a different method. And then it's just like This is for Opelu, but it would be the same thing like that. That you with a smaller rag and a lid, you put you turn your leader line all in on ball on coil. You put them on a lid. You put the palu on a coil line. You put your bait on top, and then you fold the rag and you tie them. And then there's a knot that we get, a slip knot. You go one way, then you kick back, and then you tie them, and then you throw them over. You fish about 80 fathoms. When you get down there, you jerk them, and the bag will roll off, and then you lift a couple of times, and then your line goes up, and then the fish bite them. And that's weird. But way before we fish ahi with a rock on it, no more the market dog. Just one flat rock, and the same thing. You put your palu, your line, everything, you tie them, and then you throw them over. You go down 40 fathoms, you break them, the rock roll off. You get one 8-ounce lead, hold the line, and then you fish. Because that was real easy, because it's light to pull one 8-ounce lead, but the market dog is 3 pounds, some of them 4 pounds. So you gotta pull that all the way back up.
Interesting, and I think for you folks and the practices here, especially in Kona Hama, South Kona, when it came to Opelu fishing, you were talking about how some of the ohana would go hanai, but that was kind of even a pastime before you.
Yeah.
So could you share a little bit about that as well?
Hanai Rakoa was all before my time. During my dad's time, they used to do that. They never did, you cannot, at certain time of the year, you cannot catch the Opelu. But you can go out, just feed the koa, and then when the time to catch, you go catch them. But for us, when I grew up, that was all power and gone. But then I think Minoli and Ho'okena was starting their koas, doing the Hanai thing again, bring that back that way.
And in your years of fishing Opelu, if we're just going to focus on that for a little bit, how have you seen any changes or changes in practices, even from when you first learned to what you do today?
The things that really change is the materials in the net. Because way back before, I never did work with the old Hawaiian materials, because by then it was all gone. When we first made our net was with aho line, the cotton line. So that was, I fished with that for a little while. And then came the nylon, this one here. We started fishing with this. And then now after this, and then this is the monofilament. And this is the most newest material. And even with the kuku, the stick like that, this is fiberglass, but way before we had the ule stick. We have to go pick them from up at Marco Minoli, and then you had to, and it come, only 3 feet, so you had to know how to join them and splice them and all that, and that's what we did. We gotta do that, but then now it's more, everything is more modern and stuff like that. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. You mentioned the seasons of fishing too, so some of it was known. You say, certain times of the year, go certain kind of fish. But how would you, besides those certain couple season, when would you know to transition?
Usually, like for Opelu, now you can do them all year round, but our season comes in, as funny as I never did believe that, comes with our coffee. When the coffee is red, ripe, that's our peak season, and it goes all the way from August to March. But at that Opelu, we know the season coming in. But other seasons, we just know the time of the year already, when it's going to be stopping, and you go try to catch that, and it's not much, So then you know when to jump to a different type of fish.
Okay, and then you folks growing up here in South Kona, what fishing grounds did you folks cover for Opelu?
Usually for us was from KA all the way down to Keoho we fish, and sometimes Kailua, but mostly we fish from KA to Red Hill was our main core that we fish all the time. Very seldom, no more this side that we go south. But as the years grew, we came older and older, and then we started to fish all the way down to Kona Point, it's almost to Kalai. We fish down there.
And these place names that you mentioned, this is all place names you just learned from being on the water. And
yeah, and from the old timers.
In keeping with, I think it's kind of important, like I said, to talk about the practice itself. So I was wondering if you might be able to explain what it's like out there once you get there. I had the opportunity to try a little practice net. And you was a good kumu like your dad, because you never said mine was ugly. It was. But just if you could share a little bit about when you get out there and the kind of Opelu fishing you folks do, what it's like and what the process is like.
Well, when I go Opelu, I wake up 1 o'clock in the morning. 2 o'clock I launch in my boat. I just don't go on the ocean and just grab the fish. I go out there, I spend time with the ocean.
And what are you doing in that time you spend?
I just float around and just think of what the ocean can give. And then I go. I don't fish till 5 o'clock. I fish, and I get these koas so well trained. And it's the only koa I use with the GPS, because it's dark. I cannot find the landmarks, so I use GPS. At 5 o'clock, I going up to the koa, and I look at my fish finder. I see the school following me underneath, because I train them to come every morning. I go into that koa, 5 o'clock every morning, I'm gonna start feed the koa. And they come, follow me all the way up. I look the screen just thick red. I go right to the koa and then I start feeding. But I cannot throw my net because I cannot see, still a little bit dark. Come 5:30, 5:45, I can see down, I can see the black ball eating. Then I figure, I can see my net. And what I did, my bridles that come to my boat, I made 6 bridles come to my boat where other fishermen fish. One rope come to the boat. So with that 6 bridles in the water spreading out like that, I know where my net is all the time. So I bag but you have to do everything. You have to throw the rag, you have to run the engine, and you have to look in the box. And by the time I throw my net, I'll be doing like 6 different things at one time, and doing everything. And so even if it's really, I cannot see the hoop of my net, the stick, but I know where my net already is because I can see where the bridle is. I can put that fish in the net already. And like the biggest pool I did there one morning was 500 pounds. One time, and like 200-300 pounds is every day. I can do that early in the morning, and then I come home, like I hit the ramp 7:30 sometime. The young fishermen just coming for go out, so they don't know what I was doing. And then once they knew, that was the end. They was on my back every morning, and I tell them, I said, look, you guys can do the same thing with every course. Before, when we all, like over here, had 8 canoes going out of here. Everybody get their spot. 8 different courses, everybody fishing. And you don't go jump on their core. That time was all canoe. You don't go jump on their core before they get there. They come there, they tell you, hey, you go your own place. If you know move, they come by your armor, they lift them up. Say, you going to move or you going to stay here? When they put them down, you better start your motor, you go. If not, whoop, they huli you over. So, and then after 9:30, like that, if they're on their call, you can stop by, talk to them. If you get fish, they tell you, "Oh, go ahead, throw your net," you know. But today, no more that kind. Everything different. The guys just come on you early. They like get the next pool. Because I can catch like sometimes 700-800 pounds right there by 7:30. But when they come, everybody gonna take turn.
In our previous discussions, you've mentioned, you know, the ku'ula here, and it kind of reminded me when you talk about you going out on the ocean and, you know, you have your time there. Is that something you kind of learned or saw your dad or your kupuna doing?
Yeah, because like when my dad was, the time my dad fished, we leave the house 3 o'clock and we go out. In those days, it was all paddle canoes, so we had a big boat. We dragged the canoes to the core, and then we anchored a big boat. So we on that core from 3:30 till daylight when we start fishing. So it's like we spending our time there on the core before we're going to take fish from the core.
This is another interesting thing too, because it was when we were talking last, we were talking about how here in Kona especially, Opelu is such a prized fish, and when I go to the other islands, there's a lot of people eat akule often, and you were sharing how you folks also did akule fishing, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that, because I keep wanting to go a little bit outside the realm of Opelu fishing for you, because I know you've had a lot of conversation about that, and that's, you're the Opelu man, so but I know you have experience in other fishing, so if you could talk a little bit about the akule fishing.
Akule, like what we do, like just certain times of the year we fish akule and we get 3 schools, but what we do, we spot the school, then you have to get all the nets ready, join them all up, and then the fish have to come into a spot like in our bay, way inside, like about 40-50 feet. Then we can do the surrounding. And then we throw about 2,400 feet of net in the surround, 2 akule skiff we use. And when the school is close in, the deepest net is 60 feet and goes to 30 feet. But if the school is way out and doesn't go in, we use the 80 feet net plus all the way to 30 feet. But then I think I'm going to go straight to the school my dad was watching for 3 months. Like my dad said he was watching the school for 3 months and the thing stayed out, deep, on a coral. And one of my grandfather's friend came and he told my grandfather, he said, you guys should go ka'u and talk to this kahuna. Henele is his name, and maybe he can help you guys, So my dad talked to my father, and my father said, oh, I don't know. I never hear of anybody can bring the fish in like that. And my mom told my dad, you sat out there 3 months and you don't want to try anything else? So my grandpa sent a guy go over the ka'u, bring the kahuna over. And the first thing he came, he looked at everybody and he told my grandpa, he says, you go get one pig, but gotta be all black, no more any other color, just black pig. So they got the pig, they kill him, then they kalua the pig. Everybody eat but a pier there. And then he made one whole big whole kupu. He put all of the extra pig inside. And then he told them take him out. He took him out and he said prayers and everything. And then he came back on the pier. He told my dad, he says, tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, you get your men ready and you go, and the school gonna be right in where you like them, right in where you like them. My dad come home, he told me, oh, I don't know about that. My mom said, well, you better try it instead of just talking, So And the next morning, 7 o'clock, the school was in there, right in there. And before that, the kahuna told my dad, he said, when you finish this school, the next school gonna be right alongside your net, another school. And 7 schools came in like that. They did 7 surroundings. And he told my dad, he said, by the time, he said, your hands gonna be all raw and all peeled up. Your wife gonna have to feed you because you cannot even hold a spoon. That came out true. My dad couldn't even feed himself with his hands all passed out from the pulling the net. So, and then there was another 8 school outside and they couldn't surround that. And then after that, he told my dad, he said, you know, there's a ku'ula in this heiau, the heiau right there. He said, there's a ku'ula in there, but the caretaker went mucky, so they would lay them down. But he said, you know, and ku'ula is a fishing god. Hawaiian, there's a rock that they use. That if you take care of that, he says, you know, if you want, I can show you how to take care, and we can go together. I'm going to raise them up. And then he said, you can call any kind of fish in this bay you like. Then my tutu man from Ka'awaloa heard that. He came, he told my father, he says, whatever you do, you don't do that. He says, because you and Howley, you don't know how to take care of this kind of stuff. There's only Hawaiians take care of that, you know. So my dad never do that, so you know, that was it for the Akule. But we had schools coming in all the time, you know. But my dad said they had one school was so smart because they used to use a sampan to surround. And he said, the school right inside, he said, maybe about 8 feet water from the beach, you know. So they start up the sampan, but the sampan had the wet exhaust on the water. But that's far, you know, it's about maybe, how far from the bay, you know, about 500 feet. And he said the school went inside, they back off the mooring, they coming into the school come out to them in a deep, stop by them in a deep. He said they go back on the mooring, the school go right back on the sand, like way inside. They go back inside, the school come back out. So he told his father, he said, you know, we're not going to catch the school with this boat, he says. And he said, good thing over here had 2 Hawaiians, Kekoa and another guy, had that big canoes. So they didn't go see the guys, so they put all the net in a canoe. And he said next morning the school way inside. And usually when you surround, you make a whole ring round circle. You meet Malcolm. And he told them, he said, this surround, we go straight on top of the beach. He said, no make the circle. And he said when they would go, the school never even here because they paddled. Went right around and he said they went straight on the beach. When the school knew that they was caught, the thing break, he said fish was all over the beach. The people was all picking up the fish on the beach too. And then the school moved out and settled, and then they connected the net and then they started working on them. And he said that was a 25,000 pound school too. And the biggest school we saw around here, I think had, you know, probably 50,000 pounds, but we sold 42,000 pounds. Like 30,000, 35,000 every time. But we had one buyer from Honolulu in the 80s and 90s. We surround the school, I go dive, I estimate the school, and then I tell my brother, like the school's 30,000 pounds, 35, he buy the whole school in the water. Right there, he buy everything. He says, but you guys cannot sell to anybody other than this island. We can sell on this island, but any place else we cannot sell because he want to, you know, take care of the whole market. And that's what we do. We buy the whole thing. So that was real easy because, you know, we just ship them to him.
Okay, and I mean, your whole life has just been fishing, yeah, as a way of life, as a career, yeah. And through these years and these decades of fishing, what are some of the important lessons maybe that you've learned through the practice?
patience is the most thing in fishing. You gotta get a lot of patience. Times you go out there, it's not gonna happen right away, and you gotta get the patience. Like I talked to even some other old time fishermen, the patience, you have to get the patience.
And I know we had the opportunity to work at Opelu Kaimalino together for a little bit, and the students there were fortunate to, and the kumu as well, to learn about making net. But why do you do what you do when it comes to teaching now the next generation?
Well, for me, like this net here, nobody learn right today, it's gonna be lost, completely lost, because right down in this area, and I think the whole west of Hawaii, we only get like 3 more kumus that make the net. And that's why I want to get, this is the main, there's other types of net that other people do make, but Opelu net is the hardest net because you have to sit so long to make it. You have to have the patience. And I did teach a couple of my nephews, and they had problems because they had to come to me, back to me all the time. But they finished their net, So that's the one why I want to keep on with this type of net, that I can find the young guys that can make them and keep carrying it on. Because I get a lot of young fishermen friends I talk to. They keep telling me, "Oh, you making a net?" They're buying them from me, but when I'm gone, what they gonna do? And when every one of us is gone, what they gonna do? Because you cannot buy. You can buy the materials to make this net from the mainland, but you have to know how to set them up. And you cannot go anywhere to buy this net. Nobody make them, so you have to make them. And so what I gonna plan to do is get 5 people, because they cannot remember everything. So if I get 5 people knowing all the parts of the net, if they get problems, then they can go back to each other and to complete the net. For me, it doesn't matter, because when I learn everything in the head, no more blueprint. Hawaiians, when they teach you, no more paper like this. They only talk, and you have to watch and keep them in. Everything was all in the head. But it's one thing, I don't know. I'm getting older, but I can leave stuff here and I go there. I don't know where I get them, put them. But with this, never did leave my mind. Always in my mind. I never did forget nothing. Like one time I had enough net, I never make net for 30 years, and I started, I better make some net. I just grabbed everything and just went to and make them, like everything was right there,
That's kind of just that ike of your ohana, it's in you
the way
too.
I was taught,
Yeah.
that I can keep it there.
I think we're lucky to have kupuna like you, who are willing to share even beyond your ohana, because especially for practices like Lawai'aia, where you teach people, they're fishing the same fish you're trying to catch, and I think maybe that has prevented some people from teaching, but especially now in your later years, it's like you said, the practices, if you don't teach.
Yeah, it's gonna get lost. But like even like this young boy, he just started fishing, and he started fishing alongside of me, and one day we went, he had a big school and he couldn't make anything, like 30 pounds was eating. I just watched what he was doing, I said, he's not gonna make it. So he said, "Uncle, you try." So, and we was about 30 miles south of here. And so I started feeding him. I pulled 300 pounds. He told me, "Oh, what do you do? You know what you put in your palu?" I said, "I don't put nothing in my palu." He said, "But how come they eat your palu, they don't eat mine?" I never see nothing. But I told him, no, I put Ajinomoto in my palu. And the next day he came out. I don't know if he put or anything, but he found the school he was feeding. No, nothing. Come eat, slow. Then he told me, oh, you try. I tried. I make another 300-400. I pull. He told me, you bullshit. I ain't put Ajinomoto. Eat my palu. I said, bro, I was only fooling you. But then I told him, you sit alongside me every time. You know what I do? He told me, what, you throwing a palu in the water, you jerking them, but the Opelu don't like it. I said, but look where you put in your palu. I said, the school down here, you put in your palu all over here. They ain't gonna come up here. I said, you gotta go down, meet them. You go all the way down. I said, you go all the way down, you bring them. I said, and you only throw one and look like that, they don't eat now. I said, I throw here, I throw there, I throw there, I throw all over. So you get piles eating all over, and then then you bring them together. So then they start moving and eat, then the school turned. Then when he started that, then he started to catch it. Oh, that's a trick. I said, yeah, not the Ajinomoto. I said, but he told me, you son of a gun, you.
Would work on me. I like to and I think when you tell those stories like that, it kind of paints the picture for those of us who don't go out on the boat to see it. We always say it's an art. Yeah, fishing is an art, but really it's it's a masterpiece you're creating to hui the i'a together.
To hui them together, yeah. And then sometimes if you see them under there and they're in a kawili, and kawili, it's just like this rock wall, they form just like that. And they can go like 20 feet wide, 20 feet high, and 100 feet long, And the big fish like ulua, kahala, all the big fish just swimming into the kawili like that. And they don't even bother the Opelu. So, and then the Opelu no eat sometimes. So what we do, we take the palu, we kick them up real hard, like hard. And you go right in a kawili, you broke them. And quick the ulua going run, and all the big fish run, eat that. So the Opelu all get excited. And we keep doing that. You move. And then after that, you see the Opelu start to boil, turning. And they start feeding. So that big fish creating that frenzy for them. So then they start eating. But there's a lot of different tricks you got to do when you fish.
And that's what I love about some of the practices too. I just want to mention real quick is that some of the words and terms that are used, are not everyday conversational Hawaiian words that us young guys learn today, and it's specific to the practice. So like the kawili you just mentioned. Never did hear that, but then you can picture it, and those are certain words I think too, in our time working at the school, is balancing today this journey to preserving language, but right there to help the language go on is the practices, and that's why we're here today
like Opelu goes in 3 different ways. Like they go in Holopapa when they meet water, and they swim in all in one flat school. That's Holopapa. And then when you see these big black spots on the top of the water, it's Holili. They're on the water eating on the top of the water, Holili. And like Holopapa, there's another way. When you see them on the water moving, you circle around and stop in front of them. And what I do, I circle around and I start throwing so much palu all over the different places. And you watch the school, he come right up to you, he gonna pass. And then when they turn around like that, come back to you, you get them already. They get the taste of the palu, they turn around, they coming back. And that's when you start bombing them with the palu and you pick up planting.
in this time where you're dropping the bags of palu, the net is
No, the net not
not in the water yet.
I don't even look in my glass box. I just keep throwing all over because I know the school still coming underneath passing. So I just keep throwing them all over to spread them apart. And sometimes you hit them right in the front. The school come right there and you stand up. And that's kind of school they'll eat right away. You know, so they feed real good.
And there's certain, is there a term for the fish that lead the
the smart ones we call them the hours. And there's on every core there's hours. You know, you get 30 hours. And they're the smart ones. You can get 200 pound eating down there. And the minute you grab the bridle, I don't know, there's some movement they know. You see them swimming out. And then when you pull in the net, they're going out of the net so they don't get caught. But you're catching all the other ones. But sometimes it's not too good if people make too much hours. Because when they move out like that, then all the ones start following them. That's why sometimes I don't like to fish close to the villages, you know, because a lot of their nets are not too good and their planet goes out and they make a lot of hours. So you get too many smart ones. I like to fish way away from them.
And in continuing our discussion about other types of fishing, if we could talk about the kaku fishing.
Yeah, kaku. We have this kaku way south, and when he come, he bring plenty of Opelu, right? He stay with you at school, you catch maybe 500, 600, 700 pounds. He go to school, And one time I never go down for a long time. When I went, I don't see the kaku, and I asked his boy, where the kaku? I don't know, I never see one. And one by I asked him, he said, oh, I catch them, I took them home, sell them. And for 1 year, we had that we feed so much Opelu and boom, everything gone. We don't know what to chase them. And usually you see the big fish coming underneath, but I think there was a kaku chasing them away for 1 year.
And until he caught it, and the kaku is barracuda. And some of the other, there was that pamphlet I talked about that Krista shared with me, and about the different other styles of fishing. And one of the interesting ones I just briefly read about was the emu fishing.
Yeah, emu fishing, we fished over Kavalo, and then it's the same way like, you know, when you kalu a pig, you make the emu, but this is all with rocks. We pile them all, make them pretty big, pile them all up, and then you make them this week, the next weekend you go there, and then you, at the special tide, when you're high, then we surround the emu, kind of way up, and we swim to the emu and just pipe water, hit the water, drive all the fish. The fish going to run and they're going to hide in the emu because they get plenty of puka. We make them. So they once they hide in the emu, we put our surrounding net around, and then we move the rock out, and they all hit the net, and you catch them like that. That was easy fishing because that thing working while we home sleeping, that thing working. So when we go there, we pipe, quick they will run inside there for hide. So.
And the rocks you folks used were rocks from land? Or
No,
from the water?
all from the water, because all get limu too, right? Because we threw all the rocks from the water.
Got it. And something you mentioned earlier too when I got here was that
the ala fishing. Yeah, ala fishing. It's like the octopus. They get this ink sac, and the Hawaiians call them ala. But the ink sac, what the Hawaiians do, they dry them out, and then they pulehu, put them on the charcoal, and then they make them as bait for any tropical fish you can hook. And every tropical fish, you go throw bait in them, they're not going to bite anything. You cannot hook them. But with what the ingredients they put in this ala makes them biting. But you know, my tutu men do that, but they never did teach us. And we asked them, hey, we like to learn how to make this. that's not for you folks, this. But why? I don't know why. And I talked to my friend a couple of weeks ago, and he said they had the same thing with their grandpa, that he wouldn't teach them. But after the grandpa came 85 years old, the grandpa told them, oh, we go try ala fishing. So they got everything, they gave them to him. Then he went go make, and when they went go, the fish wouldn't bite. So he went, like the grandfather, forgot what ingredients to put in there so the fish don't bite. So, and same thing with them, he said they won't, he wouldn't teach them anything. He wouldn't teach them. And until I think we die, we're not going to learn why they never teach us that. They teach you every other things, but not that.
Well, I really want to mahalo you for taking the time, for inviting us down here to your hale to share about your life and the mo'olelo from when you were a kid and the traditions of your ohana and the traditions you're creating today by teaching our next generation. So we really appreciate you and want to mahalo you.
But thank you for picking me to do this. And I want to thank Naleo for coming and do this for us. It's so great, because I watch you guys' channel every time to see all the different things that you guys get out there. It's real, for me, it's educational to see different things, that I don't know about, So thank you so much for that.
Awesome. I think, that, like Uncle Chucky is saying, it's a testament to the projects and the content that Naleo TV does. So sincere mahalo to Naleo TV, as well as Napo'opo'o 2020, our kind of planning organization for this project, as well as the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, who is our fiscal sponsor for making this project possible, along with Uncle Chucky. So mahalo to you all for tuning in, and our biggest aloha and mahalo to you, Uncle Chucky.
Yeah, mahalo, everybody.
Aloha. Ma ke ala hele o Yesu, I hala vai aku ai. Me ke kanaka o pio hano, kaulana e ka vai vai. Pane mai e ka o pio, e ku'uhaku mai ka i. He aha hoi ka u e hana ku ai. I loa e ke ola mau ia oe. E haawi lilo. I kou mau vai vai. Kuli aha hai mai a u. I loa e ke ola mau. Mina e ka opio. I kona mau vai vai. I ke ku ai a haawi lilo aku. I ka po'enele a une. Kuli mai o
Kona moon, shining so bright, smiling at you, right out of the sky.
Under the Kona Moon is brought to you in part by Napo'opo'o 2020 and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
The preceding program was a production of Naleo TV.